we need to hear the bad news. No matter how long we've been a Christian, we still need to hear the bad news. Why? Answer: so that we'll continue to appreciate the good news. Martin Luther said this: a person must confront his own sinfulness in all its ravaging depths before he can enjoy the comforts of salvation. Now, I don't think that ends after conversion. You know why? Because sin doesn't end after conversion. I don't think we're meant to stop confronting our own sinfulness and all its ravaging effects. I mean, think about this. The authors of the New Testament, Apostle Paul in particular, they go to great lengths to remind their readers of what we once were apart from God. Over and over and over again, they remind us, don't they? Here's the implication. God intends for us to remember and not forget. Remember that you were once alienated from the God of the universe, and remember why you were cut off. And the reason the Bible reminds us over and over again of what we once were, like Luther said, is so that we will be struck over and over and over with how unspeakably awesome verse 22 is. Verse 21 is like that black velvet background against which the diamond of verse 22 appears bright and beautiful. And what I'm about to unpack in verse 22 is truly bright and beautiful. It's amazing. I can't even think of worthy superlatives here. What I'm about to say is the most important thing I will ever say. I will never, ever say anything better than this. I could simply read verse 22 and sit down, and this would be the best sermon I ever preached. And what I'm about to say right now is very familiar to most of you. I mean, we're traveling over very familiar territory right now. And here's a sad fact about human nature. This is definitely a result of the fall. We get familiar with things. In fact, we get overly familiar with things. We get overly familiar with things so that we get used to them. And when we get used to them, they lose their effect on us. Here's an example. My family, all 7 of us, along with my parents and my sister and brother-in-law, and my 2 wonderful nieces who all live in Chicago, we vacation together every August at the North Shore. And in 1 week, we leave. So I'm looking forward to another wonderful time together. And I know exactly what's going to happen when we get to Grand Superior Lodge in Castle Danger, Minnesota, and I walk off the deck and I take in Lake Superior for the first time. When I see that expanse of blue, when I see and hear the waves crash at night, when I gaze up into the nighttime sky with a gazillion stars, I know what will happen. It will all overwhelm me. And my heart will be stirred to worship when we first get there. By the end of the week, it's all familiar. It never fails. I have never, ever maintained my initial awe for an entire week on the North Shore. The glory of God's creation does not have the same impact on me at the end of the week that it does at the beginning of the week, because I get used to all those sights and sounds and smells, and they lose their effect on my sinful soul. So what do I need? Well, I need to go back to Minneapolis for another year so that I'll appreciate the North Shore like I should the following August, at least for the first half of the week. Now, Paul doesn't want us to get used to the gospel. He doesn't want the gospel to lose its effect on us. And he's battling this tragic effect of the fall. He's battling this getting used to things by reminding us that we were at one time cut off from God. We were his enemies, doing evil deeds, and he couldn't even look at us. And so now we're ready for the North Shore.